Hello, everyone. Welcome to a special episode of Spring Fever. As always, I am XFL Jim, and no Uncle Rico this week. He is undergoing surgery of some kind. I don't remember the specifics. Speedy recovery to Eric, but instead, we are joined by special guest, another member of the Garage. It is Chase, the fever inducer, Lupine Fiasco Sessoms. What's up, buddy?
I'll do my best to fill in for Uncle Rico. He's got very difficult shoes to fill, and I can only imagine that surgical procedure is them just removing a gigantic wad of money from his ass.
I was going to say either that or a couple inches off his dong so he can actually, function as a human.
Yeah, I mean, because right now he can't walk. He's just got like a wheelchair with like a wheelbarrow out in front of him.
It's extremely difficult. He's talked about it off air that it's a debilitating injury how big his dick is.
What he goes through on a daily basis and conquers, God.
Gonna be a pretty straightforward, simple episode for everyone. Obviously, we're gonna do a very quick recap, because me and Chase, if you don't subscribe to the feed or anything, we already recapped Week 6 of XFL action on the Gymnasium.
Yep.
Go check that out.
Yep.
But we'll do a quick recap for everyone who just listened to Spring Fever, and then we will do the preview. We will pick the Week 7 games. As always, I will pick the spread and total. Chase will pick his fill. We got a little bit of other spring football news and do's. Let's start with the XFL first. Kyle Sloter no longer on the Renegades. Instead, they went out and got Luis Perez from the Vipers.
Can't believe that quarterback is available right now.
I can't believe the Vipers let him go. Honestly, he had one really bad game this last week, Week 6. Other than that, he's been pretty good for a good chunk of the season. They have been from the get. They are in love with Brett Hundley.
Yeah, I mean, the thing that's so interesting about it is that it's not like Brett Hundley's actually accomplished anything more than Luis Perez has. Like, they both... Honestly, I feel like they're almost interchangeable at this point. But I think it's a huge pickup for Arlington.
I would agree, because we've seen what Perez could do with an offense that is struggling and middling. When he was in New York in the XFL in 2020, the offense for the Guardians was probably the worst offense in the entire league, and they started to look way better once he got the start there. Maybe something functions. I don't know. I'm still not super sold on Jonathan Hayes. I talked about it in the Gymnasium. I've been getting DMs from people telling me that Bob Stoops should be fired, which is not going to happen at all.
No.
Bob Stoops will leave the XFL when Bob Stoops wants to leave the XFL.
Yeah, and plus, I mean, let's think of just how great of a place Bob Stoops is in for them to capitalize on the Bob Stoopsness of it all. You're in the Dallas metro area, which, I mean... It's filled with Oklahoma fans. It's filled with Arkansas fans. It's filled with, A&M, Texas fans. Like it's Big 12 country, and you've plucked quite literally probably the most legendary coach in the Big 12 to coach there.
Also, just as a personal for me, I love the dichotomy between seeing like Bob Stoops and Terrell out there together.
Yeah,
because Bob Stoops is, even though they're in a fine position, they're winning these games somehow, but he's the most not stressed coach out of all 8 coaches.
I've heard Bob Stoops say 4 words all season. I've heard Terrell Buckley threaten to release his entire team 4 times in one game.
Yes.
And it's awesome. We love both of them for it.
I think Luis Perez is a great get for the Renegades. I don't know what happens with Sloter at this point. I still believe he looked good for the Breakers at the USFL. Obviously, everything kind of turned around when he got hurt, and he threw a shitload of picks and didn't look as good. Maybe that will be the turning point in the chapter. That's the turning chapter in the book that is Kyle Sloter's career in football.
If he's still got some friendly faces in the USFL that will have anything to do with him, like if I were him, I'd be calling up John DeFilippo and being like, hey.
I don't know.
Have you seen me throw the ball to these wide receivers before? Because it's pretty good.
Fair, but I think them bringing in McLeod Bethel-Thompson kind of like it makes that a much harder battle for him. I thought the same thing with Brian Scott leaving the XFL. The USFL's getting some pretty good quarterbacks in there. Maybe the Showboats could use somebody. Maybe there's a couple other teams where guys left.
Yeah.
But especially like people were saying, like, Brian Scott back to the Stars. Well, it looks like Case Cookus is coming back. And guess what? Case Cookus looked like the best quarterback in the league last year.
Right now, last year, I think for like an established like CFL player or someone else who was established in another league who was definitely coming back to another roster spot next year, like the USFL was a gamble. It was an absolute gamble. It's not anymore. They've shown that they can get through a season, that the players will be paid, that the games will guaranteed be on TV and on big TV. You know, when we say big TV, we mean like the 3-letter, networks. So, I mean, it's not as much of a gamble, and I think that's why you're seeing more like McLeod Bethel Thompson's, make the jump from the CFL to the USFL, or even just USFL, quarterbacks making the jump to the XFL because they saw what worked in the USFL last year, and they see what they're doing in the XFL this year in terms of how well they're funded and everything.
You'll probably get a lot of overlap between players between the XFL and USFL. The CFL's a little different. I think McLeod Bethel Thompson's a special case because he's taking a pretty significant pay cut to go down from the CFL. Those guys are making like hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Yeah,
you're not making that in the USFL.
Now you're making tens of thousands of dollars.
Luckily, his wife works for Marvel, and she wanted him to move back. So they're not hurting for money.
She works for Stan Lee?
I think she works for Stan Lee's estate.
Okay. Oh, yeah. R.I.P. Stan Lee. We miss you every day.
But the other bit of USFL news before we fully get into the XFL is the Memphis Showboats have released their new uniforms this week. Boom! That's the Showboats.
Okay.
I think they're all right. I think they're fine.
How are we going to call them the fucking Showboats and have blue with yellow shoulders?
Hey, Chase, at least it's not red.
That's a good point.
At least it's not red.
At least it doesn't have red as one of the no, for real. Let's go Akron Zips.
Yeah, they are the Akron Zips of the USFL. They actually did a plus for us uniform-wise because they took away a team who had red and silver in the Bandits.
Yeah.
And now they have a blue and yellow team.
So fuck you if you say that, uniform changes are a zero-sum game. We're making gains.
I don't know. I really want to love the Memphis Showboats. Awesome name. The logo, I kind of like the old logo a little bit more, but this one's fine. It's a fun team. It's hard to get excited when they're just rebranded Tampa Bay Bandits still with Todd Haley.
Yeah,
it's hard.
My promise was to be a Breakers fan until the Showboats showed up on the scene. Well, now the Showboats have showed up on the scene, and you're giving me Todd Haley and some extra regular-ass Akron Zips uniforms. I'm not a Memphis Showboats fan until you get your shit together and you fire Todd Haley and you put some pizzazz on those goddamn jerseys.
They gotta have pizzazz. If you're gonna be the Memphis Showboats, you gotta have pizzazz.
You gotta lead the league in smiles if you're a Showboat.
Still probably put the Gamblers at number 1 for uniforms.
I think it's the Breakers, but
the Breakers is tight. But man, the Gamblers with the G in Texas and everything.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
It's sick. Also of all the red and black and silver uniforms, they were
the best. Yeah,
they were by far the best one.
I think it's because black and red just goes well together. It's not like the Hardee's Philadelphia jerseys.
Hey, I kind of love how stupid those are. Still,
just the ketchup and mustard.
I love how dumb the Stars uniforms are.
It's like somebody went to a tailgate in Buffalo and they're like, you know what? Ketchup and mustard looks good together.
Let me see if before we can get to the XFL live lines. Here we go. Courtesy of DraftKings, let's go over the futures a little bit for the people. So right now, Defenders at number 1, plus 120. Roughnecks, 225. Battlehawks, 550. Sea Dragons, 650. Renegades, 12-1. Brahmas, 15. Vipers, 10-1. And Orlando Guardians, 15-1. Oh, wait. Sorry, that is Renegades. That is Vipers, 100-1. Guardians, 150-1.
That sounds about right. Honestly, you can make them 1,000-1, and I still wouldn't bet them.
Not a chance. Still technically alive. I believe every team as of now still alive.
Yeah. Listen, if you wanted value on the Defenders, you pretty much had to get it before the season, right?
Yeah. Yeah, basically. They weren't, depending on what book you looked at before the season, I think some were offering it like 5-1, 6-1.
Right. And what I'm getting right now is pretty much identical to what I got on the Battlehawks and Sea Dragons before the season started.
Yep.
I'm not playing DC. I'm not playing the chalk just because that's too long of a sweat for $20. You know?
Same. I'm sitting on a Houston plus 600, which I'm liking.
Yeah.
Otherwise, like Sea Dragons before the season, you wanted to take him. If you still like him, now is not a bad time to take the Sea Dragons at 650.
Yeah, it's about the tops of what you're probably going to get for that market for the Sea Dragons.
It's actually kind of nuts. They're still like behind the Battlehawks when they're on a 5-game winning streak now.
True. But the Battlehawks just looks really good.
They look
of course,
really
they looked
good
really good against a team that's 101 and could be much higher to win the league.
I mean, obviously, we broke it into tiers on the gymnasium, but let's go through these games real quick. So the Sea Dragons versus the Guardians. Sea Dragons won 26-19. My big takeaway for this one was that the Sea Dragons offense is still looking a little like flustered, not in sync. Defense still up. And the Guardians they look good, just can't win games. They will be the prettiest losers at the prom.
Yeah, go ahead, put way more stock into this victory against the Guardians this week than any other victory against the Guardians in previous weeks, because that was the best that the Guardians have looked all season.
Yes. Battlehawks, Vipers. Battlehawks trounced them 29-6. Battlehawks, this was a game that they won. That I think this is a very good game for them. It wasn't close at all from jump. They just dominated from start to finish. And Vipers, I don't know, do better. You look great against the Guardians. You got that going for you.
Yeah, I think you really, with the bottom two teams, I think that you might have the same thing going on, which is I think both of these coaches have just kind of lost these teams, and they're just through there. They might sneak up and surprise somebody. They might get a fiery rah-rah out of Terrell Buckley or Rod Woodson for one game, and they might get another one. Vegas might get another one, and Guardians might get one, but like for the most part, like just based on like Terrell Buckley's interactions with his team, like they're done. They're done. Like what else? What are they playing for?
They're. I mean, you get that $1,000.
That's true. But like, how realistic is it that they get the $1,000 each week?
Fair. I guess technically for some of these guys, you're still playing for film.
That's true, but I mean now
that only goes so far.
Yeah, now there are more opportunities. Like who says that they're just not thinking, hey, don't get injured, and maybe you can get picked up with the USFL in the middle of the season.
Yes. Also, I'm gonna say I think Vegas has the worst defense in the league.
They do, hands down.
Like hands down.
That's the thing is even the bad teams like the Guardians, even the majority of the bad teams like the Guardians can actually play a little bit of defense.
Yeah, the Vegas Vipers have the worst defense in the league. Speaking of bad teams, Brahmas versus the Renegades. Brahmas won this one 15-9, taking Chase to Covertown.
Taking me to Covertown. That was big. That was huge. That was as money dog as you're going to get on the money line this weekend.
5 different people took snaps in this game.
Yeah, don't you love it?
It was ugly. And
it was ugly.
It was a ref show for a part of it. We'll get to ref shows in the last game, but it was ugly.
But here's my bold take, which is I think you're actually going to see the Brahmas put together a little run and maybe make a run at the playoffs.
Maybe. They got to figure out who they're going to have at quarterback. Like, Sinnott looked like the answer last week until he got hurt.
KBK,
maybe.
Kurt.
Or Juwan Pass. They both look pretty good. Juwan Pass gives you that little bonus with his legs.
Yeah.
We'll see a lot from the Brahmas in week 7. They do play the Vipers. Yeah. That's a get-right game.
They started 5 quarter. They played 5 people who took snaps, and they personally played 3 people who took snaps from center, and 2 of them weren't with the team earlier than like Thursday of that week, and they still
Juwan Pass was
Okay,
he was
fair.
a backup on the team, I believe. He was like the 3rd string guy behind Jack Cohn and Reed Sinnott.
Yeah, well, let's at least let's give them a full week and a half of being in the offense, and let's see what they look like this week. I think that the Brahmas could be a sneaky win pick this week.
I think they're playing the Vipers. I don't know.
They're still going to be undervalued because
I think so. Also, the Renegades getting Perez, I think, boosts them from a non-existent. These two are statistically the worst two offenses in the league, behind the Guardians,
and they're both very much alive for a playoff spot.
Both very alive for a playoff spot. It's nuts, and the Renegades they need some spark on offense because the defense is good.
Yeah, I mean, with the Renegades, it helps my narrative that I came up with this weekend that. The Roughnecks are actually going to go on a losing streak and not make the playoffs. If Arlington and San Antonio both get hot, I mean, look out because San Antonio is only 2 games back of Houston and only 1 game back of Arlington right now.
Yeah, they're both still very much alive. I still think that's the hottest take I've heard of the XFL so far.
Yeah, they're gonna lose. They're gonna lose a bunch of games, and they're not gonna make the playoffs.
Speaking of which, Houston, DC wins at 37-26, keeping their home streak alive. This game was kind of a ref show, and it was ugly. Yeah. That doesn't forgive Houston for collapsing in the third quarter.
No, they got absolutely trounced. Big shout out to David Bellamy for retweeting me, by the way, for saying that he was a bad man because he hit Cole Silver really fucking hard.
Oh yeah, Brandon Silver. I also maybe a little QB controversy in Houston. I've been saying it since the get. Cole McDonald's like the most entertaining quarterback I've seen in a long time in college, just entertainment wise.
Oh, you mean XFL Lamar Jackson?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you have conflicting hot takes.
I do have conflicting hot takes. If they actually make the full-time switch to Cole McDonald, then I think they win out.
I think I would. I'd be behind that 100%. I love Cole
2
so
paths
much.
diverge in a snowy wood, Jim. Do they go the Cole McDonald route, or do they go back to the Brandon Silvers route? And if they go the Brandon Silvers route, they miss the playoffs.
Really hope they go the Cole McDonald route because, like, why wouldn't you go with a guy who played in a run and shoot offense in college if you're going to try and have an OC who wants to do a run and shoot offense in the XFL?
Right. And hey, no disrespect, none to the rest of the quarterbacks in the XFL. But, I mean, the most electric guy we have is A.J. McCarron, probably.
I would say pure entertainment is Ben DiNucci because of the picks, and he's also thrown some really crazy throws.
Yeah, he does have the Brett Favre fucking him going deep gene, doesn't he?
He does. But, yeah, I'd say probably the best quarterback is A.J. McCarron.
Yeah.
And it's pretty obvious.
It leaves a little bit to be desired from just a fan of spring football standpoint. Like I would like to see one like electric do everything quarterback. Jordan Ta'amu, I guess, was probably the closest.
He is, and he balled out this game. This was a game that I was saying DC needed to win with a comeback, but they kind of did. They were down in the first quarter, but they won through the air, and that's massive to show that, like, guess what? We don't just have to run down your throat, and we still can because they sure did in the end of that game, but they did it, and they're by and away the best team in my opinion.
I mean, and Houston did enough to make Covertown not feel like a real place for a little bit.
I know you were worried that first quarter.
I was very worried. Because that was going to be that. Well, it was a very nice little score that would have been ruined.
And now we move on to week 7. Already on week 7, 3 weeks left. I'm dying because the XFL is almost done. Game number 1.
You just revive yourself. You're going to have like the USFL come in, in a couple weeks and pump you up,
Oh, Jim switches the garage all the time. Game number 1, Thursday, or Friday, sorry, the 31st. I'm disrespectful. Sorry about that. Seattle Sea Dragons versus the Arlington Renegades. Sea Dragons are minus 4.5 on the road, over under 37.5. I don't remember what these lines were for these first couple when we looked on the gymnasium.
I don't remember either, but I feel like it's grown a little bit.
I feel like it might have been 4 or 3.5.
Yeah. Does Luis Perez get the start?
Honestly, between him and Drew Plitt, I think Luis Perez gets the start.
Okay, well, you know what? Here's my take. Is that it doesn't matter if Luis Perez gets the start, and here's the reason. The Roughnecks are probably the most talent devoid at the skill positions.
I would agree with that. Their offensive line is not good.
Yeah.
to be nice. They have good running backs, but with a bad offensive line, those are masked. And at the receiver position, they are easily the weakest team.
So what does Luis Perez exactly do for you? Does he take a couple sacks or throw a ball away instead of getting run over? Because that's really
I think
you're just going for sounder decision making at this point, right?
It's less INTs, and you're still relying on your defense to solely win you games. Which
your defense has to score points to win games.
Over under on Ben DiNucci interceptions for the Renegades to win. I'm gonna set at 4. Exactly 4.
Oh man, I'm not even taking that. That's such a good line.
I think he needs to throw exactly 4
for them to win.
For the Renegades to win.
Okay.
For them to cover, I would say 3 would do it. But
I think they can win with 3. I think they can win with 3.
It's tough. Depending on if one of them is a pick 6, yes.
Yeah. Which you can almost count on, like if they get multiple, at least one of them being housed.
I'm taking the Dragons minus 4.5.
I almost wanted to. I'll probably waffle on this.
That's
probably waffle.
Eric
on
waffles
this.
on almost every game.
Yeah,
he's a very selective gambler, which is to his benefit.
You know what? I was so unimpressed with how the Sea Dragons looked against the Guardians. What's the money line? Do we have money line yet?
175. I don't know if that's worth it.
It's not. Give me the points with the Renegades.
You're gonna take the plus 4.5. I'm also this total at 37.5. That has climbed, I believe.
Was it like 26 to start?
I might take this under, dude.
Oh, it's so hard. It's so hard.
I'm taking the under. I went 3-1 last week.
4-0, baby.
3 on the totals.
Oh wow, that's an achievement.
Yes. Game number 2. San Antonio Brahmas. The start of April. The Brahmas versus the Vipers. Vipers minus 3. Over under 39.
What's the money line on the Brahmas?
Plus 130.
Yeah, that's worth it. Yes.
Give me the money line. Give me the plus 3. I'll take the over in this matchup.
Okay. I mean, you have a bad defense. You have a very bad defense, and you have a defense for San Antonio that can score points.
I'm going to be honest. It's kind of just banal, bland thinking on my part. When the Vipers and the Guardians play, I just kind of take the over because of history.
Okay.
It's my little trend betting going on right now. Speaking of which, Defenders versus the Guardians. Defenders are minus 10. Over under 45.5 in Orlando. 10's a big number.
10's a big number.
The Guardians have gotten absolutely obliterated at times, though.
If they were at home, they would be a 16-point favorite. But they're not.
17.
Yeah. I almost want, because the Guardians keep looking like they if they put together a piece, they'll almost be there, but it's never enough to win, only enough to cover. They're too straight.
Since they made the switch away from Paxton Lynch, they haven't gotten blown out. I guess we only really have like a full 1 week sample size.
I think we might have week 5 craziness, Jim.
I'm going to take the Guardians on the money line.
I'm not doing that.
I'm
not doing that. You know what?
I'm sprinkling.
Just because you did that, actually, I'm going to lean into the Defenders to cover the big number. What have I seen from the Defenders this season that leads me to believe that they can't cover this spread?
Guardians plus 10. I'm going to sprinkle a little on that plus 360. I'm going to take the over 45.5.
Just give me the Defenders plus 10.
Minus 10?
Minus 10, sorry.
Don't hate it. Last game, the lone Sunday game, Battlehawks Roughnecks. I think this is another banger. Roughnecks are minus 3.5, over under 44.5.
It's a road dog week. Give me the Battlehawks on the money line here.
I don't hate that. It'd be kind of embarrassing for the Roughnecks to go 0-3 against the South Big Three.
Yeah.
And I think that really cements the North as, the North, in my opinion, is already by far the better division. I'm going to take the over 44.5, and I'm going to take the Battlehawks plus 3.5. I don't know if they win it. They're looking better. If Brandon Silvers is playing, I will live bet I will hammer the Battlehawks money line.
Yeah. Let's monitor this whole Cole McDonald, Brandon Silvers situation.
If Cole McDonald does play, I might live, like, if he gets sectioned in, if he gets placed in the game partway through, like, the second quarter, I might live bet the Roughnecks.
I'll tell you what, if Cole McDonald plays, I probably just pivot off of the Battlehawks money line and I take the Battlehawks and the +3.
Love that. 3.5.
3.5, yeah, love it.
Oh yeah,
3.
Man, I'm 3 overs and an under again. The only under I picked is in the Renegades game.
I mean, seems to be a winning recipe for XFL totals is to just bet the over except for games that the Renegades play in.
It feels right. The Brahmas too.
So right.
But you're seeing the Brahmas and the Vipers come to a head here where something's got to give. Someone's got to score points in this game.
Yeah, 100%.
If it's not Jack Cohn starting back there, I'm kind of okay with it.
Yeah, for sure.
That'll do it for this episode of Spring Fever, everybody. We'll have USFL team previews coming. We're probably gonna have to double up. They'll be coming though. I wish it were easier to find rosters for a lot of these teams. Fox doesn't make it super intuitive, but there's accounts out there that do it. And I heard some rumblings on Chase's favorite league. MLFB is saying that they're going to try and go this year.
It's a scam. It's a scam. Players, don't waste your time.
Do not. It is.
Yeah, don't
fuck with them.
There's so much history with them. Like, don't even fuck with them.
There's like almost a decade of history at this point.
Yeah.
It's bad.
It's pretty fucked up.
CFL starting soon, like 2 months basically. I think late May is when the preseason starts. USFL, XFL overlap coming up. Make sure you tune into the live stream for every XFL game. I don't give a fuck what my job says. I'm leaving work early Friday. I'm streaming the goddamn XFL.
I agree. You deserve it. You deserve it at this point.
I do deserve it. Shout out Judge Dredd on YouTube. What up, boys? Some solid USFL draft picks. Hope they come through. I do. I think the USFL is going to be very interesting. It's been a while since we've seen Spring League enter year 2.
Yeah, that's the thing. And there's some roster turnover, a little more than you'd see in, say, like the NFL or something along those lines. But still, like you've got some really good cores on these teams. USFL football is going to be excellent this year.
It's going to be beautiful. Thank you all for tuning in. Thank you. Chase, you want to shout anything out before we go?
Yeah, let's see. It's Arkansas Derby week, so check out my horse racing podcast, The Notorious OTB, brought to you by the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. I'm going to be doing On the Wrong Lead tomorrow with my boys, talking the Arkansas Derby and Florida Derby. Just a lot of horseplay. I didn't freeze. I just made that face.
Yeah, I know. I had no response to the horseplay comment.
Oh, fuck you then.